Welcome to Leaders Legacy. I'm your host, Varsha Sarkar, and this is the beginning of Volume 2, which features marketing leaders. Our guest for today is Anand Vaidya, who is the General Manager of Marketing and Corporate Communication at WebEngage. With a career in marketing that spans over a decade, Anand is here with us today to discuss on the topic the role of communication in B2B SaaS marketing. Welcome to our show, Anand.
Thank you so much, Varsha. Great to be here.
So, Anand, reflecting on your career, how have you seen communication strategies evolve through the years in the B2B SaaS marketing? And what key lessons have you learned along the way?
Okay, great question, Varsha. I feel communication as an industry has had a sea change from an evolution perspective over the past decade and more that have been around. We started off with generic communication and media relations, which was to do with consumer tech back in the days. It was also very new, uh, but largely to do with making sure your clients and your spokespersons and your products are consistently making media presence. You had to find ways to place and position these organizations and the heads of these organizations in the right light through interviews, through author articles, through product reviews, most of which continues to be retained from that perspective. But the audience has evolved, the business needs have evolved, and PR, I think, on the back of it, PR and communication has also become more focused these days. And the measurement side of things have also evolved drastically, which is very interesting to see a lot of different kind of action that's happening, especially with the new age media coming in, with the new platforms that have evolved over a period of time. The influencer side of things, the social media becoming big, AI and chat GPT is coming into play. It's actually accelerated the evolution for communication and what comms can help an organization achieve, which is couldn't be a great time, couldn't be a better time to be in this industry.
Right, that was good answer. Uh, so B2B SaaS solution, they are very technical in nature. So how do you effectively convey complex concepts to a diverse audience? They could be both internally or externally.
Okay, so Varsha, I have some very interesting responses for this particular question. Let me try and frame it in as
Mhm.
best possible manner so that the audience understands better. I've been a B2B guy through and through in my career. I started off with consumer tech, but ever since, I think that's probably the only part of consumer that I've done. I've been a B2B guy, so through and through otherwise. The world for communication for B2B works very differently than a consumer facing brand or a
Right.
lifestyle facing brand or a entertainment facing brand for that matter. Uh, there's a lot of action that's happening for B2B, so it'd be wrong to say otherwise. But the storytelling, especially for a technical business like B2B SaaS, is also new. And I'd like to believe I joined WebEngage 2.5 years back, almost 2.5 years back, and there was no playbook for B2B SaaS comms that existed. We've
Right.
created a playbook from scratch, and I'd like to think that we've done great work and
Mhm.
we're consistently maintaining a number one share of voice from a media perspective. That's the basic measurement metric for all communication and PR efforts.
Right.
What that essentially means is in a period of in a specific period of time, how many media stories were written in the industry about uh, uh, what's relevant to your industry, and how many of those stories were you a part of as compared to your competition. So maintaining that number one share of voice is something that we've been able to achieve over the past 2.5 years. Uh, you'd see, and I'll give you an example. B2B SaaS. So WebEngage is a marketing automation firm. We help brands retain their customers. How I'd like to put it is there's largely two sides to marketing. One is how do you acquire customers? And that's a pretty simple playbook. You
Mhm.
spend big monies with the likes of Facebook and Metas and the Googles of the world, and they get people to see your ads and download your app or sign up to your website and whatever else your business would be.
Right.
Bring them to your touch point. Uh, on the same At the same time, the other side of marketing is how do you retain these customers that you've been able to acquire. It becomes very difficult for a business to grow if you're spending big monies on the acquisition side of things, but your customers are
Mm-hmm.
not returning to you.
Yes, yes.
Now this is done through a dashboard. There are three parts to the dashboard. There's a customer data platform, there's an engagement tool, and then there's a personalization engine. I'll not get into the details of this because, well, this isn't a WebEngage conversation, but from a comms standpoint, what we are trying to do is we're trying to simplify the whole overwhelming nature of retention marketing. It's not, unfortunately, as simple as acquisition marketing, which is, well, you pay big monies and you get
Right.
customers. Uh, you have to do 10 different things, which are from a dashboard lens, also very complex. And to put things in perspective, there is one Economic Times 20-page supplement, of which there's one page on startups and tech. Startups used to
Mm-hmm.
be a single page. Now
Yes.
it's sharing space with tech from that
Right,
perspective.
right.
97% of the times, the stories that you read in that newspaper would either be funding or acquisition or whatever else the flavor of the
Mm-hmm.
month is. In this situation, telling the right kind of story, your space to tell the story itself is very limited. How do you create more and more opportunities for a brand like, well, WebEngage, or for that matter, any B2B SaaS, to tell the right kind of story? This is where everything outside of media starts to play a huge role.
Mm-hmm.
And because fortunately for us, we are a B2B organization, the ICP for us is very clearly defined. We know who we want to communicate with.
Right.
And then it's a matter of identifying the right kind of platforms to communicate from and
Mm-hmm.
measuring the success of these platforms. So we're very huge on creating our own IPs. I'm very proud to be part of the retention marketing 30 under 30, the event, the property that we commissioned with Economic Times, where
Mm-hmm.
we are recognizing people who are doing great work in retention marketing. And we've
Oh, that's
gotten,
amazing.
yeah, and the best part is this is going to be the third edition. We are launching it next week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and because we've been able to bring someone like an Economic Times to hold the other side of the weight for us, it adds a lot of credibility. First year
Right.
around when we launched it, we had, I think, about 90 odd applicants who had come in, of which we selected the best 30 for that
Mm-hmm.
edition. The second year around, we had an overwhelming participation. We had about 450 people applying. That means the word is going on. That means the success is right there. We bet on the
Right.
right horse and it's working for us from an IP perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There's a third edition, and we are hoping to achieve more. Also, from that angle, if you think about it, the measurement is great because it's not just media. People, the winners who are using, who are winning the title,
Mm-hmm.
are very proudly flaunting it on their LinkedIn. You'll see a 30 into 30 retention
Mm-hmm.
marketing. So my
Yes.
word goes out. There's a lot of advocacy that's happening from organizations and education institutes who winners are the alumnus from, and things like that. So this is just probably one of the 10 different things that we do,
Right.
and this is no longer the clip counting sort of a setup. We don't care about being able to bring in the most number of media stories in
Mm-hmm.
that particular activity. We are more focused and we know what we want to achieve, and I'd like to think we've
Right.
been able to do that for the longest time.
That's amazing. So, Ann, can you provide an example where your expertise in technical communication made a significant impact in the success of a B2B SaaS marketing campaign?
Okay, so again, Varsha, great question. Unfortunately, answer is not as simple.
Mm-hmm.
From a technical standpoint, you try and speak jargons, you're losing the audience at a minute,
Of course.
at an instant,
Yes.
because we are living in the real days, we are living at the short span days. Even the
Yes.
YouTube shorts that have come in are so tiny, it's very hard to capture the attention.
Yeah.
And again, we are in a space where we are competing with perhaps 11,000 similar organizations, more than 11,000 similar organizations globally, who do
Mm-hmm.
pretty much or practically uh, same thing, give and take here and there. So to be able to talk and get the right kind of mind share is very important for us.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what we've been able to do here is we've been able to break some of the most technical concepts, such as designing an effective journey for how your customer should go through this from a
Mm-hmm.
product standpoint,
Right.
predictive segmentations, and use of AI in general. You remember when AI came in, Nvidia stocks going up, and Sam Altman speaking about it every other day, and you could see him in every media out there. There's a lot of conversation that suddenly picked up, but very few people could understand how this can be
Yes.
applied to
Right.
their use cases or their industries and so on.
Right.
And this is where we found the opportunity. Let's uh, Actually, this is the perfect time for us to go hammer and tongs about it. We've been doing it for the longest time, but we've been breaking the complex problems into smaller nuggets that are easy to understand and relatable to a large extent. This is where our tagline also comes into play. We are WebEngage, we're simplifying retention. So it's a
Right.
retention simplified. We
Yeah.
simplify all our use cases and all our uh, complex solutions into something that's easily understandable. We run an in-house podcast. That's also something that we are doing with uh, distribution help from a media house. So you'd see
Mm-hmm.
the state of retention marketing is a property that we are building out from a comms perspective, which
Mm-hmm.
has resources that range from all sorts of format, from podcasts to articles to explainer videos to reels and everything that we can think of. We're bringing all of
Right.
this resource at one place. So anyone and everyone who wants to learn about how to do retention, how to do customer retention, customer engagement
Mm-hmm.
in their industry, in their organization, can just come onto this platform, learn about it for as long as they want, and it's all free. We're
Okay.
starting this podcast. We've started this second season of the podcast now, which is called the State of Retention Marketing Podcast, where we are using, again, Economic Times brand equity to be our media partner and help us amplify this whole activity, where we do a deep dive conversation with someone from the industry. We talk about the
Mm-hmm.
technical aspects of it, but we get them to simplify it for us from a use case perspective. So, say,
Right.
for
Right.
example, someone from an airlines industry would come in and talk about data unification. I'll give you another example. Uh, let's say Tata Group, for instance. Um how cool would it be? And I'm not sure if that's happening right now. I'd like to think it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're flying Akasa, if you're flying Vistara from Bombay Airport to say Delhi, uh, it is in the best interest for Tata Group to send out a message to your phone when it's time for your just before your boarding, say half an
Mm-hmm.
hour, 1 hour before your boarding, saying here's a 20% off on Starbucks at Bombay Airport specifically for you.
Ah,
The chances of you as a flyer going to Tata Starbucks using the code and making that purchase at Starbucks, which is a Tata company, through the information that you have from Vistara, is much higher than otherwise.
yes. Yes.
Now,
Definitely.
this is a very simple technical concept, but if we get someone from the aviation industry or uh, uh, an FMCG industry to come in and
Mm-hmm.
speak about this, it's simplified, and we have a great platform, we have a great distribution, amounts to great success from a comms perspective.
That's a really good idea for a campaign. Yeah. So, Anand, as a leader, how do you envision the long-term legacy of communication in shaping and advancing B2B SaaS marketing strategies?
Again, not a simple answer, but and this is not just applicable for B2B SaaS, but it's applicable for everything else as
Mm-hmm.
well. Comms is doing some great work, and something as simple as what Bold Care came up with from an idea standpoint, where they got
Yes, I
Ranbir
saw that
Kapoor
ad.
and
Yeah,
yeah, they got the
it
world
was really
talking.
amazing. Yes.
Absolutely insane campaign idea.
Yeah.
How do you bring people together, bring
Mm-hmm.
resources together, and bring that idea together is job of a comms person.
Right.
Uh, at least I'd like to think so, because that's the work, that's the orchestration that we do here at WebEngage. That's what me and my team does. We are the most
Mm-hmm.
collaborative yeah, the highest score on collaboration you'd give to our team if you were to do so.
Oh,
We are the ones who connect all the dots and bring things together to make things happen.
right.
While Bold Care is an example, this is what the comms function does according to us, and this is what we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to excel at. If you put any use case to this, if a comms person is able to do this effectively, and most of them do,
Mm-hmm.
you'd see a lot of great business impact happening from that perspective. And
Right.
let's go back and take the example of 30 under 30. We've had two editions so far. That means 60 winners who have emerged out of this campaign. These
Mm-hmm.
60 winners, in a certain sense, are advocates of WebEngage now. They need not necessarily be using my tool, but they
Mm-hmm.
know who WebEngage is, what we do, and we've this whole year-long engagement plan with them from a community standpoint.
Right.
If I'm able to build this successfully over the years, I'll have enough and more WebEngage advocates who will just go out and speak good things about WebEngage from an advocacy standpoint, and perhaps influence the deals
Hmm.
that are happening in the market. So it's a big win for us from a growth standpoint. So
Right.
comms as a function, I truly believe outside of just clip counting and media stories can do a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
and well, we are already doing so. So yeah.
Yeah. So Anand, previously you had mentioned the rise of AI and how different departments are using it to streamline their efforts. Are there any specific AI tools or platforms that you are currently using that can revolutionize the content creation process of, and corporate communication?
So, Varsha, we do use a lot of AI in our day-to-day life. I like to think we are a digital-first organization, so we are more adept to using next-generation tools in our day-to-day
Of course.
work. We are very technology-heavy from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We do use AI from a content creation and contextualization perspective. Simplification of uh, complex topics could be broken down into simple language using a lot of AI tools that are out there. We also use AI-based products to help us track and measure the impact of communication. For example, how many media stories did were we able to do in India versus the competition in that
Mm-hmm.
particular point of time? Who's the kind of journalists who are writing about us, and what is the flavor of the month, so that we can then how do you say uh, do whatever course corrections required in our storytelling and narrative during that phase.
Right.
But all that apart, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people must be using it, and if they're not, they should.
Mm-hmm.
What's most interesting from a AI standpoint for me, and I'm hoping this happens, is to simplify measurement for PR and comms. There's no one single element that helps uh, calculate the benefit of PR. And we spoke earlier in this conversation about
Right.
how the industry has evolved over the past decade. Back in
Mm-hmm.
the day, this early uh, 2010s, I think 2011, 2012, the measurement was something on the lines that was called advertising value equivalent, and AVE. If you
Mm-hmm.
were to spend monies on advertising to get the same kind of coverage that you've been able to get from editorial initiatives, this is the money that you would be spending. This is
Right.
the correlation that was done from an impact standpoint. How do you
Right.
measure the impact? It has obviously evolved over a period of time, because communications is not just about promotions, it's about
Mm-hmm.
building the perception and shaping the reputation, and a lot of different things.
Yes.
uh, I'd love to see AI simplify this measurement and contextualizes it in today's world. Say, for example, if I am running a PR campaign, how many uh, to what by what percentage has my Google search gone up is something that
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to perhaps delve into and understand. It's a difficult place to be in. It's very hard to say that this is the media coverage that got more and more
Uh,
people to come and check what WebEngage is
yeah.
or any other organization. But if there is a way to contextualize this and find out a real impact, I think that's going to be great.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Anand, for sharing your insights. I'm pretty sure our viewers got a glimpse into what you do. especially in corporate communication and marketing. And that concludes our today's episode of Leaders Legacy. Do like and subscribe to our episode. Until next time.